Happy Christmas! And let's hope that 1954 brings us all the joy. Today, I'm making a Christmas cake. Hopefully, the last one while rationing still continues. Next year, we will have all the butter we will need. Why don't you join me? I'm going to start by preparing my ingredients. I need 9 ounces of self-raising flour. And this I will sieve with my spices. Next, I'm going to chop up half a pound of cherries and mix it with half a pound of peel and a quarter pound of crystallised ginger. I always like to start by preparing my ingredients first. I know that some people do it as they go along, but once a professional cook, always one. I started working here at Abbots Hall in 1922 when I was 22 years old. Born into the new century just round the corner from here. I left school when I was 13 and ended up in Kensington as a kitchen maid, and then I came here to be the cook. Back then, there was just the captain and Mrs Long and 4 live-in servants. But since the war, things have become much more reduced, and now there is the 2 unmarried Miss Longs. I'm now going to sieve my flour with a pinch of salt and my spices. When I learnt to cook during the Great War, the flour wasn't always very good. And so we were encouraged to sieve it to get out the grit and the weevils. Of course, in the latest war, we got used to the national flour, didn't we? Horrible brown flour with all the bran in it. I know it's been 5 years, but I still smile at the sight of white flour. I make a lot of cakes, and so I use self-raising flour. But if you don't bake that much, you might as well have plain flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Self-raising flour stops raising after 6 months. Now I'm going to cream together my sugar and fats. I have here 4 ounces of margarine and just 2 ounces of butter. You can now buy electric mixers, which would make this job very easy, but they are expensive. And of course they use electricity, which a lot of houses still don't have. The Miss Longs put electricity in here for me, as a thank you for my long service, I think, which was very generous of them. Now I need to crack the eggs and break them up. I'm now going to add eggs, flour, treacle with a little milk to my butter mix. I'm using a mix of butter and margarine for this. But you can use all margarine or any cooking fat, whatever you can get on the ration. You can't get 6 ounces of anything at the moment. Pops, Mr Wilding, my husband, he likes to have butter on his bread, as do I. And so usually when I bake cakes, I just use margarine. When we first moved here in '36, it was to run a dairy. This is 2 cottages really, and the other side was empty. So I had quite a business making butter, and I would sell butter and cream and milk. But that was before the Miss Longs sold the farm. I do prefer butter really. And this butter is from the international stores in Stowmarket. It's nice, but it's not as nice as mine. As for my fruit, I'm going to add a little flour, and that will stop the fruit sinking to the bottom of the cake. And then I'm going to mix it in very gently. And now I'm going to put it into my cake tin, which I've already buttered and papered. You might be surprised, but there are no currants in this cake. I suppose some people might prefer it that way. Christmas cakes usually are much darker and heavier than this. They have lots of currants and raisins and some even sultanas. Those are good cakes. I prefer them, but this is more economical. It's a lighter, better cake for parties before Christmas, when people are rushing around and don't have time for anything heavy. There. Now, I'm going to put this in the oven for 2 hours. After half an hour, I shall turn it round and then check it after an hour to see when it's done. This cake looks lovely. I think I'll pop it aside for Pops and we'll have some for our supper. I made this one yesterday. I covered it with marzipan. That's almond paste. I usually make it myself, but almonds have become so expensive. I've bought this one from Turner's, which is the high-class grocer, and some from the International, which is much cheaper. This is the cheaper marzipan. I don't think there's many almonds in it. It's mostly sugar and flavouring, but it will do the job. I covered the cake with hot apricot jam to seal it. I did make the jam. I'm now going to cover it with royal icing. I make a lot of Christmas cakes and Christmas puddings and give them as gifts. And this one is for the chapel Christmas party. So it can be quite simple, a thick layer of icing, and then I'm going to put on top some of these little figures. We used to make lots of fancy cakes. We used to use recipe books like Agnes Marshall. I've got one here. I don't use it much anymore. I used it a little bit when I worked in the big house at Abbots Hall. It's nice to look through it and read it and see how cooking's changed in the last 30 years. And not just cooking, ingredients also. You can get all sorts of things nowadays ready-made, and nearly everything comes in packets. I don't buy much of it though. It's very expensive, and I prefer to go to the grocer and to the market and get exactly what I want. Even though we've got a lot of shops, market days are still very important in Stowmarket. I'm looking forward to the last one before Christmas, as there's always a real atmosphere and, of course, Christmas caroling. There. I shall just add my characters. I'm not going to worry too much about the sides and them being a little messy, because that's what ribbon and bands are for. Although I could use Christmas wrapping paper. I think I have some from last year. This cake can be served with no icing, simple icing, or something slightly more elaborate. I found this design in a magazine that Miss Vera Long lent me and I couldn't resist. I'm going to give it to the Miss Longs as a Christmas present. I think it just needs... There. A Christmas cake for any possible party. I'll just have a little bit of this to test now. I do like this cake. It's much lighter than many rich fruit cakes. It's more like a ginger cake, really. Not at all, I must admit, what many people would think right for Christmas. It's perfect with a cup of tea or a glass of sherry if you're that way inclined. Happy Christmas.